Hello, my friends. My name is Melissa, and welcome back to my channel. Today is January 11th, 2022. I am 3 weeks into the new chapter, if you will, of the goal that I set for myself as far as working off weight as a measurable result, if you will. So I just wanted to touch base really quick. I'm really tired and it's kind of getting hard to think. And yeah, and this is honestly my third take. So I'm really tired. So anyway, so let's just jump right into the material. I'll talk a little bit about my changes that I've made, the adjustments that I've made, both to my goal overall and to the goals that I set for the week last week. So, as some of you may know, last year was essentially, as far as overall health goes, last year was pretty much a complete flop for me. And you can check out my old videos, but as far as the numbers game, I wanted to work off 52 pounds to go from being 227 pounds down to being 175 pounds. And instead, I ended up gaining weight, which is a super bummer because that's the wrong direction even. So and then it was an up and down year. Like I had a couple of losses and I had mostly gains, but then it was a slow, steady gain up until the last part of last year when I had some death in the family. And so I am trying to get back to it. So back in December, on December 28th, this is when I set my new goal for myself. I want to get down from the 260 pounds that I weighed on that day, December 28th, 2021. I would like to get down to 190 this year. That's my goal. So it's a 70-pound loss. I have set small, attainable goals each week, including water goals, exercise goals, and then a couple of other ones that aren't. Some of them are they're kind of food goals, but some of them are just kind of personal goals that I need, like trying to be early at work and hoping to arrive on time or within that little frame that we've got at work. Kind of like it's kind of a grace period, if you will, every day. And so that's been working out pretty well. The no soda has worked. The no soda rule, unless it's like a special occasion or like a special meal on the weekends, because then it's special, is one. I also, again, I'm super tired, so I'm like trying to make sure that I talk properly. And it's really late. Like I may have said in this particular take, it's like 10:30 at night. So I'm just really tired and it's hard for me to find my words. So I apologize if I am indeed stammering, because I think that I am. So anyway, so I have made exercise goals, water goals, I've made food goals. And this week I have adjusted some of those. Last week I weighed in at 254.6, which was an overall, I don't like to say loss, but I mean, because I worked hard to try to work it off. So I worked off 5.4 pounds, so 254.6, which was great. And it was kind of a nice surprise last week. But unfortunately, I gained a little bit this week. I gained 1.8 and I'm up to 256.2. And like I said, I'm trying to go from 260 to 190. I did do the math on that, and the rough estimate, it's rounding up a little bit, but I'm trying to work off 1.5 pounds every week. So I'm still within the range of continuing to drop the weight. It's just that I went up a little bit. And there are different reasons behind that, like the fact that it could be water weight. It could be PMS. I did eat a considerable amount of food on Sunday, so maybe that just kind of stuck with me. But that being said, I'm not worried about it because I'm still on track for working off the weight in the manner that I want to. I would have rather lost a little bit more. I would have rather worked off more weight this week than actually gained a little bit, but I'm still on track with a total negative of 3.8 pounds. So doing well as far as that goes. Let's see here. So to talk about the goals that I've set for myself, the ones that I'm keeping and not adjusting, I am making an attempt to, or making my effort, I should say, I'm putting an effort to try to be early every day to work. And I've probably hit that about half the time since I set that goal last week, which is kind of a bummer. And when I say hit that, I'm unfortunately a chronically late person, and I'm trying to fix it. I've been trying to fix it for years, and I've had drastic improvement, but I'm still not. I want to be an on-time person, and I'd love to be an early person, but mostly I want to be an on-time person because I catch a lot of flack from that from some of my close friends and my family members, even when it's not my fault. And I mean that. Like, sometimes it's literally somebody else's fault that's in my party, but they look at me because I'm the one with the history. So, and then it doesn't help that I perpetuate that history by continuing to be a late person. So I need to fix that, and I am doing my best to make that happen. So by aiming to be early, I'm actually setting myself up to, even if I'm not actually early, I have been on time and or within that grace period that we're given at work. So that works out. So there's that. I also am continuing to have no soda except on special occasions. And that could be going to the movies or something like that. We don't do that often. The movies is definitely not something we do often. But that kind of thing, or if it's a special meal on the weekends. So that's when I'm saving for soda. Lucky for me, I don't have much problem with this goal. Cutting the soda out, and that actually goes hand in hand with two of my other goals, one of which is to have a caffeine curfew at 2 p.m. So I am reading the book Sleep Smarter by Stevenson. In fact, I will go get that for you to show you if I haven't already. I'm pretty sure I have, but I'm going to show you anyway because I'm that kind of person. Hang tight. Okay, so here's that book, Sleep Smarter by Stevenson. It's got all kinds of different tips and, as some people call them, life hacks to help you get better quality sleep. And it talks about a lot of different things, but one of the things that it does talk about in the book is having a caffeine curfew for yourself. It does kind of depend on where you live and what your day looks like, but it kind of goes hand in hand with like your circadian rhythms and stuff like that. So if you're not familiar with all of that, I strongly recommend this book. It's really, really good. So Sleep Smarter by Stevenson. So my caffeine curfew, basically, he talks in the book about how caffeine can stay in your system for a range of time, but like up to 8 hours, depending on how much you have. And so he recommends that you cut yourself off around 2 p.m. in order to help your body be ready to actually go to sleep around 10 p.m. And 10 p.m. is the optimal time for our biology in general. So again, super tired. So I'm trying to like articulate. I'm not doing a great job. So I apologize. But anyway, so that's part of it. So having that caffeine curfew, I'm a coffee drinker. I drink a mug of coffee like every day. It's a pretty big mug. It's about a half of a pot of coffee, which is roughly 6 cups of coffee, 4 to 6 cups, depending on how big your pot is. But doing this caffeine curfew has kind of helped me get myself prepared to be tired around this time. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm so tired right now. But anyway, it also helps me to not have the temptation to drink soda because most soda is caffeinated, or at least most dark sodas are caffeinated. And I am not, interestingly, a couple years back while I was working at a chain salon cutting hair, that was when I started setting my caffeine curfew, but it was like at 7 o'clock at night because I noticed that I had trouble sleeping really, really bad. I had what felt like energy jolts moving through my knees. And so I set a curfew for 7 o'clock. And then it got to the point where that wasn't good enough. So I set a caffeine curfew. I didn't call it that, but I mean, that was basically what it was. Like that was my cutoff. That's what I called it. I set a cutoff for soda and that kind of thing, soda, coffee, everything at 5 o'clock in the evening. And now that I know more about this, setting this caffeine curfew for 2 p.m. has been a little bit hard, but not horrible. It's just kind of an adjustment that I've had to make. And I just have to tell myself no, which, as a lot of you know, that's kind of the secret to making any small decisions, small, good, lasting decisions. telling yourself no and being disciplined enough to actually like follow through on that. And as simple as it is, it can be very hard. So for the most part, I've done very well with that. I think the latest that I had was one day last week. I think that I had like my last sip at 4:05 or something like that, but I hadn't had like a good chunk, if you want to call it a chunk, a good portion of coffee from like about 3 o'clock that day, but I had just a little bit left and I sipped it at 4, and I was like, I could have just like dumped that down the drain. But I did do that like, I think it was yesterday with my coffee. I got to a point where I came home from my break and I drank coffee, and then at one point I looked at the clock and it was a little after 2, and I'm like, that's my cutoff. And so even though I really wanted to continue drinking it, I dumped that coffee down the drain, and it felt like horrible. I was raised in an environment where we're not supposed to waste. So doing that kind of thing for me is really, really difficult. Like wasting food, wasting coffee, even throwing things away. So it makes it a little bit difficult to do that. But I am succeeding, and that feels good. So that works hand in hand with my water goal. And I'll get to that as soon as I throw down these solid goals that I've kind of established over the last 2 weeks and I'm keeping at. So my sister and I forgot to mention this in my first video talking about the steps. I think I talked about it in my first video. I think I forgot to talk about it in my second, but I'm not 100%. Anyway, so the steps that I'm taking include my sister and I having a discussion, because we both love food and we both love eating. And unfortunately, with the deaths of 2 members of our family, we got to the point where we were eating out almost every day. So we decided to kind of cut back on fast food and ordering out, takeout or delivery or whatever, to where we're trying to eat out less and cook at home more. And that has been really, between the two of us, that has been really, really successful. She and I live together and we both cook. And so we both, I mean, I really can't speak for her, but I know that I enjoy cooking. But like, she has made like one pot meals, and I have made dinner several times, or something, or I'm a big into cooking breakfast in the morning. So between the two of us, we've cut down on eating out a lot. And so that's been successful as well. And so one of the things that I've mentioned before in my other videos, and I just really love this quote, I call it the Anton ego philosophy, but there's this part in the movie Ratatouille. It's a Disney Pixar film. There's this part in the movie where they're kind of like, they kind of have this little bit of a standoff during an interview. Linguini, the chef, and this food critic, Anton Ego, and Linguini looks at Anton and says, you're awfully skinny for somebody who likes food. And Anton is like, you can tell he's just so offended, but he's super quick-witted. And he goes, I don't like food. I love it. And if I don't love it, I don't swallow. And so I've tried to have that philosophy when eating now. So if there's something that I'm not enjoying, like, and sometimes I kind of reason with myself. I'm like, okay, not at all. Or is there just like one aspect of it that I don't like? Like tonight I had some microwave egg rolls for dinner. I made it for my calorie goal today, but I had 2 microwave egg rolls for dinner, and they had that grease taste. And some of you know what I'm talking about, like that grease taste to them. But the rest of it was really good. Like I enjoyed the texture, even though they were nuked. I enjoyed the texture. I enjoyed the flavor of the filling. And even that outer portion was pretty good, but there was like this kind of greasy, oily taste that it's hard to describe. It's almost like the kind of grease that you get. It's almost like the kind of grease that you get when you go out to a fair and eat fair food. So that was a little bit off-putting. But it was just a little bit off-putting, and I was still enjoying the rest of it. So I went ahead and ate it. So again, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to eat it. If I am enjoying it, then I'll continue. Or if it's something that I'm not enjoying, but it's good for my nutrition and it's something that I should eat just to eat something and kind of tide me over until my next meal or whatever, I will continue to eat it. But if I'm not getting any value from it, including if I'm not enjoying it, and especially if I'm not enjoying something that isn't good for me in the first place, it's going to go. I'm either going to throw it away or I'm going to give it to somebody else. So that is the Anton ego philosophy that I've adopted. That is the solid ones that I've established in the last couple of weeks. So then there are these other ones that I've established, but I've decided to add to. And like I talked about with my my caffeine curfew and my no soda, they work really well with my water goals. So I have steadily increased my water a little bit every week to kind of get back into the flow of drinking mostly water, not just more water, but mostly water. I am making that transition slowly. It is slow, but I am drinking. I started when I set the goal to get down to 190 back on December 28th of 2021, which was just 3 weeks ago. I started a goal of just drinking one of these every day for a week. Last week, I set the goal to drink 1.5 of these every day for that week. And then this week, I am setting the goal to drink at least 2 of these every day. And I'm at 2.5 right now, so that's good progress for me. But I'm not going to beat myself up if I can't maintain 2.5. This week is focusing on just that 48 ounces of water. I know that it's not the recommended amount of water that I need, just the recommended amount of water that I need. And but it is my step in the right direction. Plus, it keeps me from having to make that weird transition where you have to pee all the time because you made a switch, like a drastic switch to drinking a ton of water. Unfortunately, today was one of those days that I did have to pee a lot. So I'm hoping that my body will get used to this relatively quickly, so I'm not constantly running to the bathroom, especially work. All right, so that is my water goal. I increased my exercise goal from last week's 4 times a week to this week 5 times a week at 20 minutes each, if not more than that. I am also adding to my exercise goal. I would like at least 3 times this week to do a combination of 30 squats, 30 crunches, and 30 of those knee push-ups. It's a heck of a drop from what I was doing last year and the year before, but because of the direction that I have let my health go in, I am starting small. And even then, I feel like this, even though it's small, it's still going to be a challenge. So that kind of tells you how far I've kind of sunk back into my old habits. Hopefully, maybe in the next video that I do, I can bring up that old chart that I made where I was doing, I think I set a goal for myself to do like 700 squats in a week or more than that or whatever it was. But I had a chart that I was making where I was progressively adding each week to that. But I was doing, like, in comparison to what I'm doing right now, like astronomical amounts. Whereas right now I'm going to set the goal and unfortunately the challenge for myself of doing just the 30 squats, 30 crunches, and 30 of the knee push-ups 3 times a week. I'm really hoping that my elbow doesn't give me trouble, because if it does, then I have to go to wall push-ups, and I feel like that's a shameful place for me to go back to since I was doing so much better. I was really close to being able to actually do a full push-up like the proper way, but I didn't get to it. I had an issue with my elbow popping. It was weird. I won't get into that because I'm already kind of going on, and it looks like 18 minutes. So yeah, I'm definitely going on. So that is exercise. I am, let's see here. I decided that I wanted to set my alarm for 5:55 every day, and give myself that same 15-minute grace period that I think I talked about in the last video. And that would put me at 6:10. So I'm getting up a little bit earlier. As long as I get up within that range, I'm still getting up a little bit earlier than what I did last week. And I am hoping to continue to wake up earlier in increments so that I can get down to getting up around 5:30 every day and having a full hour to work out instead of just about 20 minutes by the time that I'm awake and coherent and all that. So, but for this week, we're just going down, we're just shifting that 15-minute whole period down 5 minutes, and that is doable. I've also noticed that since I set the 6 o'clock, 6:15 goal last week, that that I'm waking up before my alarm clock goes off anyway. So if it's before 6 o'clock, then obviously I could get up within that time frame already if I wanted to. So that is my goal. Today, I think I got out of bed at 6:11, but because I was up so late last night, I'd actually went ahead and set the alarm for 6 and 6:15. So I was a little bit late getting out of bed this morning in regards to the goal that I'm setting for this week. However, I still only got up like a minute past that, so I don't feel so bad. Okay, so that's the alarm clock goal. I also am setting a goal to wash my hair every other shower. I actually got this suggestion from my boyfriend, not in a mean way, but I was telling him how last week I went from like, I think I'd washed my hair either on Sunday or Monday of last week and didn't wash it again until Friday. And that it was pretty stinky and ooey. And I don't want to be that person. I know that that the hair care regimen, if you will, and kind of just generally taking care of my body went downhill whenever I lost my dad and my brother. Before that, if I waited that long, it was just me being lazy. But I know that it really, really went downhill for, a couple of weeks to a month-ish. So I'm trying to fix that. So when I was telling him about I'm like, I hate that I'm doing this. And he goes, well, how about you? Because I said, I'd like to get to where I'm washing my hair every other time I'm showering. And he goes, well, how about you make that one of your weekly goals? He's super supportive and super positive, and I love him dearly. And I was like, that's a good idea. I could do that. So I went ahead and added that to it. So I'm going to wash my hair every other shower. I am also... I've got 2 food goals that I'm setting this week, and I hope I'm not missing anything because I'm kind of bouncing around on my little post-it list that I've got on here. I've got 2 food goals, and my 2 food goals are to cut down on butter because I've been eating quite a bit of butter, and maybe that has a hand in the weight that I gained this week as well, now that I think about it. In the morning, I like to cook breakfast, and it's usually involves eggs, and it usually involves steamed fresh vegetables, usually the Great Value kind. But we've got, let me show you these. All right, so we've got these, they're Great Value steamable bags of veggies, and a lot of people at work, I'll cook these in the morning, and I'll get a little chuckle from some of the people I work with. But this one's rice cauliflower. It's only 15 calories per serving, and I think there are 4.5 servings for the bag. So it's in between 60 and 75 calories, which is pretty amazing for an entire bag of rice cauliflower. If you're counting calories, it's really great. And also, if you're going the low carb route, this entire bag has roughly, I would say just under 15 carbs. It's 3 carbs per serving, so it'd be 12 for the 4, and then like 1.5 more, so really 13.5. So that's pretty good, for the entire thing. But if you're really cutting carbs and you're, I have a friend who, for a while, I don't know if she's still doing this or not, but she had to cut her carbs down to 25. It was 100 a day. And so she couldn't even eat a banana because a banana had 25 carbs in it. And it was a quarter of the carbs that she was allowed per day. So that was intense. But anyway, regardless, rice cauliflower is pretty good for your carbs and your calories. Or you can go the Brussels sprout route. I like them. Some people don't. I understand that they smell kind of sulfurous when you cook them, so they're a little intense then. But anyway, 35 calories per serving, roughly 4 servings per container, and you're looking at 140 calories for the entire bag of Brussels sprouts, which was the other part of what I ate for dinner tonight. But that being said, to get back to the food thing, I need to cut down on my butter because I probably eat about a half of one of these steam fresh bags. I usually save half back for my sister or for another meal later. And, or if I'm making breakfast in the morning and I have enough time, I'll go ahead and prep her breakfast as well. So I'll split it into 2 different containers and I'll put eggs on top of them, but I also add butter. So I use probably about 1/3 to a half of a tablespoon of butter to cook my eggs in, to fry my eggs. And then I use about a full tablespoon, if not 1.5 tablespoons in the veggies in my tray to add that extra flavor. Because, yum, butter, but I'm also a salt person too, so I salt my stuff. And so you're looking at anywhere from 1.5, roughly 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of butter just for that meal. And that's a lot of butter if you think about the fact that I eat something along those lines every day of the week. So if I'm doing that and I'm cooking roughly every day of the week, and even if you cut it down to the 5 days, Monday through Friday, that I have to work, which I'm super thankful that I have a Monday through Friday job now, that's 5. And so you're looking at, like, you're looking at over a half a stick of butter every week that I'm eating by myself, which if you spread it out, it makes sense. But at the same time, when you think about it that way, you're like, wow, that's a lot of butter. And that's just for those breakfast meals. Sometimes I come home and cook dinner and I use butter in those too. So that's even more butter. So there's a good chance that I am actually eating an entire stick of butter in a week. So I'm trying to cut down on my butter. I did not have butter in my Brussels sprouts this evening, and they were still good. I salted them with some sea salt, my little sea salt grinder, but I did not eat butter with them. So I'm pretty proud of myself there. So to cut down on butter and to help out with my cutting down on butter and to eating better and watching my calories. You've heard me talk about calories a couple of times. I went back to using MyFitnessPal. I started again today, and it was difficult. It actually was relatively easy throughout the day because I had a lot of healthy snacks and I made a lot of really good choices. But then the evening came and I was hungry and I got cranky. So I had this little burrito, this little microwave burrito, like as a snack. It's like 280 calories. And then I was trying to figure out what the heck I was going to eat for an actual dinner. And I went and did a couple of haircuts. And then I came home and but before I left for the haircuts, I was pouting about how I had to count my calories with my sister. I was like, I went into my living room where my sister was sitting and I'm like, Shelly, I'm upset. And she's like, what? I'm like, she looks at me and I'm like, I hate counting calories. So I was pouting about it. And the funny thing was, it wasn't but maybe 5 minutes after I made that statement, because I was really I was still hungry after eating that burrito, but I knew I hadn't given it time to settle. And I think it had that time to settle about 5 minutes later, and it was fine. Like literally, it was like a night and day difference. I'm walking out of my house like, I got this, it'll be fine. I'll be totally good. So then I got home and was trying to figure out what to eat as far as like kind of trying to keep under my calorie count, which, as I predicted using MyFitnessPal, I am about 1,800 calories for my day that I can eat, going from the 2 pounds that I was trying for last year to the 1.5 pounds this time. So I've got about 1,800 every day. And then of course, as MyFitnessPal works, if you have the option to add your exercise. And if you add your exercise and you have a calorie count that goes with that exercise, those calories get added onto your total so that you can eat more, but still mathematically work off the weight. So that's cool. So anyway, that is everything. We're looking at almost a half an hour of me yakking on. If you've held on this long, thank you. I will have a description down below that talks about all of this, but I'll keep it briefer. I'll do it bullet point style like I did the last time, but I will make it shorter so that it just shows the added goals that I'm doing. And so if you're on board with me and you'd like to, if you would like to do this with me and you'd like to follow the steps that I'm doing every week, you are welcome to. So this week, once more, 20 minutes of exercise 5 times this week. In addition to that, 3 times of 30 squats, 30 crunches, and 30 knee push-ups in the week. And I'm using MyFitnessPal. I'm getting up 5 minutes earlier than I was last week. So we're setting the first alarm for 5:55 and the second for 6:10 to give me that 15-minute window to get out of bed. So that's a goal. And then also to cut down on my butter, to wash my hair every other shower, and to drink 48 ounces of water daily. So that's it. Again, if you've hung on this long, way to be an awesome person. I'm so sorry I ramble, but I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. It's 11 now. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to pass out. It's going to be wonderful. I've said wonderful a couple times. So I'll say it again. Wonderful, wonderful. Have a wonderful night or day, depending on what time you're at when you watch this. Make good choices, be your best self, and live your best life. I will talk to you later. Bye.